Well, it's our first new comic review of the new year, and what better place to start than latest DC Comics offering and the very first post-Dark Crisis official tie-in book, Action Comics 1050. So this book had a lot of promise to it because this was supposed to be resetting Superman back to kind of his original status quo as, just kind of the truth, justice, American way kind of guy, bring back Clark Kent and all the others. So we're going to talk about this book. So spoilers, if you haven't already read it and you want to, come back and see the video after you've read it. So we're going to talk about what happens in this book and more importantly, kind of what it means going forward. So Action Comics 1050, to be fair and give full 1,000% disclosure, I bought the Jim Lee cover. This book had a lot of covers, so this was the one that I selected. So this book opens up with Luthor, and he's got the villain Manchester Black tied to some kind of machine, and he uses his machine to amplify Manchester's powers, and he creates this big psychic wave that goes all over the earth. And shortly thereafter, Superman starts noticing that there's some problems, some indiscrepancies talking to people, and obviously something has happened, something's gone on, and he gets a big loud signal that only, of course, he can hear because it's kind of that Kryptonian super hearing thing. And, of course, at the end of that signal, he finds Lex Luthor. And Luthor kind of goes on one of his little supervillain tirades about how he has realized now, after all these crises and dealing with Perpetua and all these other things, that the world needs a Superman. But the flaw in the Superman as it stands now is that Superman needs to be above everyone else. He needs to be godlike. He needs to be something beyond human, which means that the whole idea that the world knows he's Clark Kent needs to be erased. So that's kind of the reasoning behind Luthor kidnapping Manchester Black and using his powers to create this psychic beam that will make the world forget about Clark Kent being Superman. So that kind of puts that genie back in the box, and it leads into a good old-fashioned Superman versus Lex Luthor in a big purple and green battle suit fight, where the two of them have a big old fight out in space. Superman can't believe he's done what he's done. Apparently this machine of his not only killed Manchester Black in the process of using his power, but it also created a failsafe to where if somebody ever learns Superman's secret identity, they have a seizure and die or something. And so Superman is reasonably upset. The two of them have a big old fight. He gets through Luthor in his ridiculous power suit, and Luthor pleads for his life. And of course, Superman, I'm not going to kill you, but you're going to jail for what you've done, you diseased maniac. And that's kind of it. That's the end of that fight. And the rest of the book brings in a couple of backup stories dealing with a little bit of the fallout of what happened. So the rules are the majority of the human race forgot Superman is Clark Kent or Clark Kent is Superman. But members of the Justice League, the Teen Titans, and those close to Superman, they'll remember his secret ID because reasons, Batman-related reasons, really. And so that's it. Clark Kent is, once again, Superman's secret ID. Luthor is going to jail. He is the crazy supervillain again. Now, Luthor also retains the knowledge that Superman and Clark Kent are the same. Now, whether or not this is going to be information he's going to use as leverage going forward, it kind of seems like the way he speaks in the comic that he sees value in Superman's secret ID being preserved. So I don't see Luthor going forward using this information to get at Superman in a way, because it's not like he can reasonably threaten to expose it, because that kind of undoes his entire plan, this entire outlook that Clark Kent needs to be Superman, because that keeps Superman in this otherworldly godlike position. It's kind of like Zeus can't just be a normal person. He has to be Zeus. And that was the justification for Luthor doing what Luthor did. So that's how DC kind of put this genie back in the bottle. They could have, there's a lot of ways they could have done it. We just came out of a multiverse altering crisis. They could have just kind of, waved a magic wand, multiverse style, and said, okay. And that didn't happen now. And it did. So, I kind of respect that they did it in story. They gave and this whole idea that Luthor has this idea that just other people are too, unenlightened to understand. That's very Lex Luthor of him. And it kind of puts him back in the villain category in in my opinion, kind of a weak way, but it still puts him back to, he's no longer getting to chill with the Justice League and being one of the helpful heroes anymore. Superman's kind of been brought to that point to see that Luthor, to him, it's always the ends will justify the means, and regardless of what those means may be, as long as his end goal is justified, then really whatever he does beyond that doesn't matter. So that, and again, that's very much keeping with Lex Luthor's character, and in that sense, that's a good way to put him back in the villain category without undoing all this stuff that's happened over the last couple of years, where he's been kind of reformed, helping the heroes more than being a villain. This whole idea of whatever it takes. If people have to die, people have to die. If it's for the greater good, that it kind of that's that megalomaniacal Dr. Doom supervillain mentality, which I like. But ultimately, so really, what this book just did was it just reestablished Clark Kent, who has been gone since 2018, when Brian Michael Bendis showed up and had Superman reveal himself to the world for reasons. And I'm curious kind of how people think about that. He hasn't been Clark Kent for a while. Are you happy to see Clark Kent back in the books and this dichotomy back to Superman, where he's going to have this more human, relatable side to himself, where he has to deal with more safeguarding the secret ID to protect his family and to protect his city, but also just the pitfalls and perils that come along with just being a normal human, let alone having the secret that he has to protect. But he's got to pay bills, he's got to worry about his job, he's got a marriage, he's got a kid, and he's got to do this all as a normal human, or at least keeping up the front as a normal person. So it's going to bring that dichotomy back. I don't know if some people were happy to see this go, or if they welcome Clark Kent being back. It's really interesting to me to see how this goes forward. When they revealed his identity originally, I didn't see a lot of, I don't know, how do I put this? I don't see that they did a lot with it. It's not like it really affected the comic, other than just kind of how Lois and he related to each other. And, people knew he was Clark Kent, and so he didn't have a job at the Daily Planet anymore. But it's not like, it's not like anybody came after his family, went after Ma and Pa Kent, or Ma Kent up in Kansas, or Lana Lang, or anybody, knowing that would, be able to be a way to get payback against Superman, going after the ones he loved because they're weaker. None of that. It was really kind of a nothing burger. It really kind of was. A lot of people got mad. I think my personal opinion is I thought it took away from the stories a bit. I like the secret ID. I usually, with superheroes, that's where a lot of their interesting storylines come from. Peter Parker and his hard luck, Clark Kent and the fact that he's got all this power and the ability to do all this stuff, but he's got to, maintain the Clark Kent half of it. I think that's kind of interesting. I think it keeps him grounded, but others maybe don't. There was a reason they took the secret ID away from him, for a reason. I have to imagine that there was somebody out there who kind of thought that was a decent idea, besides Bendis himself. So let's talk about that in the comments below. Are you happy to see Clark Kent back, regardless how they did it? I kind of thought doing it within the, not just within the comics lore, but within the Superman specific, using Manchester Black, using Lex Luthor, keeping it in canon in the Superman world and having it done in-house, I think was better than having it done in a grandiose big event like Dark Crisis. So I was happy with the way that was handled. And, this is the first step of this whole dawn of the DCU, bringing DC Comics back. Does this do it for you? Does this bring about any interest in wanting to revitalize your love of DC Comics, or maybe coming back if you've put the comics down before, or if you were still sticking with DC after all this time and hung in through the Bendis, run of the comic and everything else? Does this kind of restore a little bit of your faith in what Superman is going to be going forward, or do you not like this direction at all? Let's talk about it in the comments below. While you're down there, do all the usual stuff. Please hit like and share the video. Helps the algorithm get us in front of more eyes, and I really appreciate all of you guys out there paying attention to the video, sticking around to the end, and of course hit subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. We'd love to have you here at the channel, and that's going to be it. We'll leave it there. We'll talk to you in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video. See you then. Bye.